The night was cold, darker than usual on the quiet alien frontier, the wind howling through broken fences and steel roofs carrying the scent of dust and rain. Inside his small cabin, Elias sat near a flickering lamp, repairing an old rifle that had long stopped working. His world had been silent for months, no visitors, no messages, no life except his own breath echoing against the metal walls. Then came the knock. It was soft at first, a single tap against the door. Elias froze, listening, thinking it might be the wind. Then it came again. 3 slow knocks, uneven, weak. He stood up, his heart racing. In a place like this, no one knocked after dark unless it was trouble. He picked up the half-broken rifle and walked to the door. When he opened it, his breath caught. Standing there was a small alien girl, her skin pale blue, her hair wet and tangled, her big silver eyes filled with fear. She was trembling, holding a glowing pendant close to her chest. The rain poured behind her. Lightning flashed, and for a moment, Elias saw something moving in the distance, a dark shape watching from the trees. The girl's voice was soft and shaking. "Please," my mother said. "You help lost ones." Elias lowered the rifle slowly, his voice gentle but firm. "Come inside before you freeze." She hesitated, then stepped in, water dripping from her clothes onto the metal floor. She looked thin, fragile, like she hadn't eaten for days. Elias quickly closed the door and locked it. He offered her a blanket and poured warm water into a cup. She held it with both hands, whispering, "Thank you, human." Her accent was strange, her tone polite, her eyes darting to every corner of the small cabin, as if she was scared something or someone might follow her. "What's your name?" Elias asked softly, sitting across from her. "Lyra," she replied, then looked at the pendant she was holding. It glowed faintly with shifting blue light. Like a tiny living flame, Elias had seen alien artifacts before, but never one that seemed alive. He nodded. "I'm Elias." He paused, studying her clothes. They were torn, covered in mud and burned in some places. "You came from the forest?" Lyra nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. "They took her. They took my mother. I ran. She told me to find you, the human in the metal house." Her small voice broke at the last words. Elias felt something twist inside his chest. "Who took her?" he asked gently, but she only shook her head. Too afraid to speak, he didn't push. He could see she was exhausted. He gave her some dry bread, but she didn't eat right away. She looked at him as if unsure she was allowed. When he nodded, she took a small bite, whispering, "You are kind." Like she said, Elias frowned. "Who said?" "My mother," Lyra whispered. "She said you once helped our kind long ago, when others wouldn't." That caught him off guard. Humans in her species, the Zithari, hadn't spoken for decades after the war on the border moons. The Zithari had declared humans unworthy of contact, and any human seen near their land would be punished. "Your mother knows me?" he asked slowly. Lyra only nodded, then fell silent. Clutching the glowing pendant tighter, her eyes heavy with sleep, Elias sighed, placing a warm blanket over her shoulders. "You can rest here tonight. We'll talk in the morning," he said as she closed her eyes. Elias turned off the lamp and looked out through the narrow window slit. The storm outside had grown worse. Lightning cracked across the horizon, but what made him freeze was not the storm. It was the same dark shape he had seen before, standing motionless among the trees. Tall, cloaked, glowing eyes watching the cabin. Elias reached for the rifle, even though it barely worked. He whispered to himself, "If you came for her, you'll have to go through me first." The figure vanished when lightning flashed again, leaving only rain and wind behind. He stayed awake the whole night, sitting near the window, watching, listening. The girl slept peacefully, holding her pendant close to her heart. Sometimes it pulsed with a faint light, like it was alive or calling to something far away. Elias didn't know that by opening his door tonight, he had opened the first chapter of a story that would shake 2 worlds. He didn't know that the small alien girl under his roof was the daughter of a leader, a daughter of power, and that the shadow outside was her mother. Torn between her duty and her heart, the night ended with silence. But the war for kindness had already begun. Morning light crept through the dusty window, soft and golden, washing over the small cabin where Elias lived. The storm had passed, leaving behind the smell of wet soil and silence. Lyra still slept in the corner, wrapped in the thick blanket, her small hands clutching the glowing pendant as if it was her only protection in the world. Elias quietly poured water into a pot and set it to boil, his mind heavy with questions. Who was this girl, and why did her mother send her to him? He hadn't spoken to a Zathari in years, not since the peace treaties collapsed. But something in Lyra's terrified eyes reminded him of those old days, when he once believed humans and aliens could live together. When she finally opened her eyes, she looked around in confusion, then whispered, "It's still here. You're home, it's warm." Her voice was soft, as if she had expected to wake up somewhere else, somewhere worse. Elias smiled faintly. "You're safe here," he said. "No one will hurt you while I'm around." She hesitated, looking down. That's what she said too. Her words trembled, but they took her. He crouched beside her, speaking gently. "You said your mother told you to find me. Did she tell you why?" Lyra nodded slowly, touching the pendant. She said, "Humans don't fear our kind, that they help when others don't." She held the pendant toward him, and for a moment it shimmered brighter, showing faint shapes inside, 2 figures. A tall alien woman and a man in an old Earth uniform. Elias's breath caught. That man was him, years younger. Standing beside a Zathari woman, he whispered, "That's impossible." But Lyra nodded again, her eyes wide. "That's my mother. She knew you." Elias stepped back, stunned, memories flooding back. He remembered a mission long ago, a rescue operation during the last border war. He had saved a wounded Zathari leader and her child from collapsing ruins. They had parted after the ceasefire. He never saw them again. He had forgotten her name, until now. "Your mother. She was called Zira," he said slowly. Lyra's eyes lit up. "Yes." "Matron Zira!" Elias's chest tightened. Matron Zira was one of the most powerful leaders among her kind, and if she had sent her daughter to him, that meant something terrible had happened. Before he could ask more, the ground outside rumbled. Faint vibrations like heavy boots marching through mud. Lyra's eyes widened in fear. "They found us," she whispered, running to the window. Elias followed her gaze down the slope, near the forest's edge. 3 alien guards in silver armor moved carefully through the mist, scanning the ground with glowing devices. Their voices carried faintly in the air, sharp, mechanical. "The tracker ends near the human dwelling," one said. Elias's jaw tightened. He quickly turned off the stove and motioned Lyra to stay silent. He knew what would happen if they found her. Harboring a Zathari child, especially one of royal blood, was considered a crime, the kind that could cost him his life. The guards approached the door. One of them raised his arm to knock. Elias opened it first. "Standing tall, what do you want?" he said, his tone calm but firm. The lead guard's helmet reflected the pale light. "Human by law. We search for a missing child of the Zathari matron. Her trail leads here." Elias crossed his arms. "You're mistaken. I've seen no one." The guard's eyes glowed faintly beneath his mask. Scanning Elias's face, "Our sensors detect energy traces. Alien in nature," he said coldly. "Step aside," but Elias didn't move. "You got a warrant?" he asked, his voice steady. The guard hesitated, not expecting defiance. "This is Zathari territory," the guard said sharply. "You have no rights here." "Maybe not," Elias replied, "but this is my home, and no one enters without permission." There was a tense pause, wind rustling through the trees. The guards exchanged quick glances. Finally, one muttered, "Leave him, we'll report to the matron's court." They turned back toward the forest. Disappearing into the mist, Elias exhaled slowly, closing the door and locking it again. Lyra stood trembling, her eyes full of fear and guilt. "They'll come back," she whispered. "They always do." Elias knelt down to her level, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll be ready," he said quietly. "I don't know what's going on yet, but I promised your mother once that I'd never turn away from a child in danger. And I won't start now." Lyra looked up at him, her eyes shining with tears and trust. "She said you would protect me," she whispered. "Even if it costs you everything," Elias forced a small smile. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." Outside, in the distance, unseen by either of them, a cloaked figure stood watching from the shadows, her silver eyes glowing faintly beneath her hood. She whispered to herself. He kept his word, and vanished into the storm-gray forest. The bond between 2 worlds had begun again, hidden, fragile, and unstoppable. The next morning began too quiet, even for the lonely outskirts where Elias lived. No birds, no wind, no hum of passing drones, just still air that carried an uneasy silence. Elias stood outside his cabin, scanning the tree line with cautious eyes, his hand resting near his tool belt inside. Lyra watched him nervously through the small window. Clutching her glowing pendant close, he could feel it. The storm wasn't over. It had only changed shape. By noon, the silence broke. The sound of engines echoed across the valley. Silver ships descended from the clouds, their hulls marked with the sharp symbols of the Zathari clan. Dust exploded as they landed near the village a mile away. Alien guards stepped out, tall, armored, moving with precision. They weren't searching this time. They were claiming territory. Elias cursed under his breath. He knew this kind of movement meant only one thing. The matron's child had officially been declared missing, and now the whole region would be locked down until she was found. Lyra stepped beside him, her voice trembling. "They're here for me. I can feel it." Elias looked down at her, his jaw tight. "Then we stay quiet. We stay hidden, and if they come, you stay behind the cellar wall. No sound, no light." Lyra nodded. Though her eyes glistened with tears, she didn't want to hide anymore. She wanted her mother. Hours passed. The sky darkened again as the alien patrols spread out. By evening, 3 guards approached Elias's home. This time not sneaking, but marching straight to his door. Knocking hard, the sound sharp and cold. Elias opened the door slowly, his voice calm. "What's this about?" The lead guard's armor shimmered with clan markings, his eyes an icy shade of violet. "Human, we have orders from the High Matron Council," he said. "You will open your home for inspection. We have reason to believe the missing child of Matron Zira was last detected here." Elias frowned, pretending confusion. "You searched me yesterday. Found nothing. What changed?" The guard stepped closer, his voice lower. "A witness saw a child near your home last night. Pale blue skin, glowing pendant." His tone grew sharp. "Do not test our patience, human. Inside." Lyra crouched behind the cellar wall, her small hand gripping the edge. Her heart pounding so loud she was sure they could hear it. She wanted to cry out, to run, but she remembered Elias's promise. "Stay silent." No matter what, Elias met the guard's stare. "You're accusing me without proof if your matron's daughter is missing." "Maybe you should protect her better," he said, his tone edged with quiet defiance. The guard's eyes narrowed, his hand moved toward his weapon. "Watch your words," he hissed. "You stand on Zathari land. Not your human dirt." Elias didn't move. "This house was built by my hands. I'll decide who walks through that door." The tension hung heavy. The other 2 guards raised their scanners, their red lights flickering over the walls. One device beeped faintly, pointing toward the cellar. The lead guard smirked. "There," he said. "Move aside." But before Elias could answer, a sharp command echoed from the distance. "Stand down!" All 3 guards froze, turning toward the voice. A smaller shuttle had landed nearby, and from its open ramp a tall alien woman stepped down, her silver robes fluttering in the wind. Her presence radiated authority, her voice cold as ice. "Who gave you permission to harass the human?" she demanded, her tone cutting through the tension like a blade. The guard saluted instantly. "Commander Thal." She raised a hand, silencing him. Her eyes locked on Elias. "You?" she said, her tone softer but heavy with curiosity. "You're the human who refused to hand over a child yesterday, yes?" Elias didn't flinch. "If I was, what then?" She studied him for a moment, then smiled faintly, not with kindness but with recognition. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," she said quietly. "That child carries the blood of the most powerful matron in the sector, and every clan wants her for power or for revenge." Elias's stomach turned cold. "So they'd kill her to hurt the matron," he said. The commander nodded. "Or use her to break her." She stepped closer, her voice lowering. "If you're hiding her, human, you are already marked by fate. You will either die for her or change everything." Her words lingered in the air like prophecy. Then she turned sharply, signaling her troops to retreat. Their ships lifted into the night sky. Vanishing among the stars, Elias stood still, the hum of engines fading into silence again. Behind him, the cellar door creaked softly open. Lyra's small face peeked out, her eyes wide with fear and hope. "What did they say?" she whispered. Elias looked down at her, his expression unreadable. "They said you're not just a child," he murmured. "You're a storm that's about to begin." Outside, far beyond the hills under the twin moons, a single cloaked figure watched the cabin, her hand resting over her heart, whispering words lost to the wind. "Hold on, my daughter. I'm coming." The night returned heavy and silent, the air thick with mist that glowed faintly under the twin moons. Elias sat awake by the dim lamp, his old rifle resting beside him. He hadn't slept in 2 days, not since the patrols started circling closer each night. Outside, the forest whispered with strange sounds. Soft clicks, distant footsteps, and something else. Something that felt like breathing just beyond the tree line. Inside, Lyra slept curled in the corner, her glowing pendant pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Sometimes it flickered brighter for a second, and every time it did, Elias noticed the shadows outside shift. As if something unseen responded to its light, he rubbed his tired eyes, whispering to himself, "You've been alone too long, Elias. Now you're talking to ghosts." But deep down, he knew something was coming. Something powerful and old just past midnight. The lamp flickered, then went out, leaving the room in pale moonlight. Elias looked up sharply, every instinct alert. The air around him felt charged, like the air before lightning strikes. He reached for the rifle, but before he could move, the door latch clicked. He aimed, voice low and tense. "Who's there?" The door opened slowly, revealing a tall figure cloaked in silver light. Rainwater glimmered on her long, dark hair. Her eyes shone like molten silver. Calm yet filled with centuries of weight, she stepped inside without a word, her presence filling the room like a storm that didn't need thunder. Elias froze, his heart skipping. He knew that face. He had seen it years ago in smoke and fire, when he pulled her from the ruins of a fallen city. "Zira," he whispered, almost not believing his own voice. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. Part fury, part sorrow, part gratitude. "You still remember," she said softly, her voice carrying the tone of command even when whispered. After all these years, Lyra stirred at the sound, her eyes opening slowly, and when she saw the woman, she gasped, "Mother!" She ran forward, throwing her arms around Zira's waist, the glowing pendant between them bursting into brilliant light, filling the small room with a wave of warmth and quiet power. The same light rippled through Zira's markings, glowing lines running along her skin like living fire. Elias stepped back, overwhelmed. "You're alive," he said quietly. "They said the matron of the Zathari died in the siege." Zira looked at him, eyes fierce. "They wished it so," she replied. "But I lived, hidden, hunted, waiting for the day my daughter could be safe again." She turned her gaze toward him. "And she found you?" He nodded slowly, still in disbelief. "She almost didn't make it," he said. "There were patrols everywhere, and now they're coming harder." Zira's eyes narrowed, her voice colder now. "They won't harm her while I breathe," she said. Then her tone shifted gentler as she faced him again. "You took her in, gave her warmth when my own kind hunted her. I owe you a debt that cannot be measured." Elias shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. I did what anyone with a heart would do." But Zira stepped closer, her silver eyes locking with his. "No human would have done what you did," she said firmly. "You adopted my daughter, cared for her as your own under Zathari law. That act binds you to our clan, whether you wish it or not." Elias frowned. "What does that mean?" She took a slow breath, her voice steady, ancient in its rhythm. "It means I must join you, human. I must live under your roof, protect you, serve you, and share your fate. This is the bond of honor. The law of the old blood." Elias's eyes widened. "That's madness," he said. "You're their matron, you lead a whole people, and you'd throw that away for a rule?" Her gaze didn't waver. "Honor is not a rule," she said quietly. "It is the breath of who we are. If I ignore it, my name dies. My daughter dies, my clan dies, but if I honor it, even your kind may one day walk among us again without fear." For a long moment, they just stared at each other, the silence heavy between them. Lyra stood between them, looking from one face to the other, her small voice breaking the quiet. "Please, can we stay here, all of us?" Elias sighed, looking at both of them, the exhausted girl clutching hope like a fragile light, and the proud alien leader standing ready to sacrifice everything for her child. He finally said, "Then stay, both of you. But you follow my rules, no fighting, no lies, and no bringing war into my home." Zira smiled faintly for the first time, the smallest curve of her lips. "Then it is done," she said softly, kneeling slightly. "From this night, Matron Zira of the Zathari stands under your roof." The words hung in the air like a vow, echoing with strange energy that seemed to make the walls hum. The pendant between them glowed once more, sealing a bond older than any treaty. Outside, unseen by them, the forest shifted. Silver lights flickered between the trees, messengers running toward the city, carrying the news that would shake the entire sector. The matron has bound herself to a human, and nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning, the sky hung low with gray clouds. the air still and heavy as if holding its breath. Elias stood outside chopping firewood, trying to quiet the noise inside his mind. Everything felt unreal. The matron of the Zithari, the most feared alien leader in the sector, was now living under his roof inside. Zira moved silently, her long silver robes brushing the floor as she helped Lyra prepare breakfast. The smell of warm grain and herbs filled the cabin. The scene looked peaceful, but underneath that peace, tension shimmered like a blade hidden beneath silk. Elias finally spoke, his voice breaking the silence. "You said something last night about a law about being bound." He looked at her. "I need to understand what that means." Zira turned to face him, her silver eyes calm but unreadable. "It is the law of tether. One of the oldest among my kind," she said softly. "When a Zithari child is saved by an outsider, the savior becomes part of that bloodline's protection bond. It ties souls and fates together." Elias frowned. "Sounds like superstition." Her lips curved slightly, not in anger but pity. "You think it is myth? Because your kind forgot what honor means when no one is watching," she said quietly. "But our bond is more than words. It is life force. It means if harm comes to you, I feel it, and if death reaches you, it reaches me too." Elias froze, his axe pausing mid-swing. "You're saying your life's tied to mine?" She nodded once. "From the moment I spoke the vow beneath your roof, the bond awakened. I cannot break it without breaking myself." Lyra looked between them, her small hands clutching the edge of the table. "So, you're family now?" she asked softly. Zira's face softened for a moment. "In a way deeper than words," she said gently. "But this law is dangerous. Many clans will see it as betrayal. They will call me tainted. They will come for me." And for him, she looked at Elias. He exhaled slowly. "I didn't ask for any of this, I know," she replied quietly. "But fate does not ask permission." A low hum suddenly vibrated through the ground, making the cups on the table tremble. Lyra gasped, running to the window. "Mother, ships!" she cried. Elias rushed to look. 3 Zithari ships hovered low above the forest, their engines glowing pale blue. They weren't patrol craft, these were war vessels, their hulls marked with red sigils of the Council of Clans. Zira's expression darkened. "They've learned of the bond," she whispered, her voice calm but sharp with dread. "They've come to claim my life and erase the shame." Elias grabbed his rifle. "Then we need to run." But Zira shook her head. "If we run, they'll burn everything between here and the horizon." "No, we stand." Elias looked at her, disbelief in his eyes. "Stand? You mean fight? Against that?" He pointed toward the ships. "There's no winning against them." Her eyes gleamed. "You forget, human," she said slowly. "I am not alone anymore." She stepped outside, her cloak swirling like liquid silver. Her skin began to glow faintly as strange runes appeared along her arms and neck. Energy pulsed from her hands, connecting her to the pendant around Lyra's neck. Elias watched in stunned silence as the pendant lifted from the girl's chest, floating in midair, merging with Zira's light. The air shimmered with a wave of unseen power, bending the grass and trees around them. "Stay behind me," she said calmly as the first ship lowered closer. Its weapons charging, a deep hum filling the valley. A voice boomed from above. "Matron Zyra of Clan Vareth, you have broken the sacred order. Release yourself from the human or face judgment." Zira raised her head, her voice carrying strength that shook the air. "I have obeyed the oldest law, the law of life itself." "You call it betrayal, I call it truth." Energy rippled around her, a glowing sphere expanding like a shield. The first blast from the ship struck it and vanished. Dispersing into a storm of silver light, Elias could barely stand against the pressure. The air felt alive, humming through his bones. He saw her silhouette framed in light, powerful yet broken, fierce yet gentle, and for the first time, he understood this was not about law. This was about love. When the ships retreated, the valley fell silent again. Zira dropped to her knees, breathing hard, her light dimming. Elias ran to her side. "You're hurt," he said. She smiled faintly, "Only tired." "The bond took from me to protect you," she whispered. "It grows stronger now, Elias, and so does the danger." He helped her inside, his mind spinning, realizing that this law wasn't ancient superstition, it was real, and it had already changed everything. Outside, high above the clouds, a red signal blinked across the alien sky, spreading a message to the farthest stars. The matron is bound to a human. The council declares her an exile. The storm of destiny had just begun to turn, and this time, both species would feel its pull. Dawn broke with fire-colored clouds, the horizon burning faintly from the first signs of the coming battle. Elias stood atop the ridge overlooking his small settlement, the air thick with tension and the scent of wet earth. Behind him, Zira and Lyra prepared quietly, their movements calm but deliberate. Like dancers before a storm, Elias gripped his rifle, knowing it could do little against the approaching fleet of Zithari warships, but he refused to show fear. His mind ran through strategies, traps and escape routes, yet, deep down, he knew this wasn't just about survival. It was about proving that humans and aliens could stand together, even when everything told them they could not. Lyra ran to him, holding the glowing pendant. "They're coming faster now. Mother's trackers are spreading the word," she whispered, panic in her voice. Zira's eyes scanned the valley, her silver light faintly glowing around her. "It is not the time to fear," she said, voice low but unwavering. "It is the time to show them why honor and courage matter, why one human can change the hearts of many." Elias looked at her, incredulous. "You're asking me to fight an army?" She nodded. "Not just fight, to inspire. If the clans see courage, they will question the old ways. They will see the truth in what has been forbidden." The first fleet appeared over the ridge, sleek silver ships with crimson markings glinting in the dawn. Their engines roared like angry beasts, landing troops in perfect formation, warriors armed with energy blades and plasma rifles, moving like a river toward the settlement. Elias's heart pounded, yet he felt an unfamiliar calm. Seeing Zira stand beside him, her glow spreading to Lyra, the three of them forming a triangle of light and hope. The first wave of attackers reached the village outskirts. Cutting through fences and huts ready to strike, Elias fired his rifle, hitting a scout, but it barely slowed them. Zyra raised her hands, chanting in the old Zithari tongue, her silver runes flaring brighter. The ground beneath the invaders shook, energy waves knocking some off their feet. The warriors froze, staring at her in awe, fear and confusion. Elias moved closer to her side, watching as the matron's power combined with the pendant's light, creating a shimmering barrier around the settlement, protecting it from harm. "This is impossible," he whispered. A warrior charged, breaking through the barrier's edge. But Lyra stepped forward, holding the pendant high. It pulsed like a heartbeat, and the warrior froze as if paralyzed by light, then fell to the ground, unable to move. The other invaders hesitated, and whispers ran through their ranks. Some backing away, confused, some kneeling in awe, others retreating toward the ships, sending urgent signals back. Elias realized something incredible. This was more than defense. It was a display of human courage combined with alien honor, showing the clans that unity could exist, that one act of kindness could ripple through generations, challenging centuries of hatred. Zyra's voice rang out clear and commanding. "Warriors of the Zithari, see what humans can do. See what courage can bring. I stand here, bound by honor, beside the one who saved my daughter, and I declare, strength is measured by heart, not bloodline." The invaders faltered, their attacks slowing, hesitation growing into uncertainty. Some warriors even stepped forward, lowering their weapons. "Could it be the human?" One whispered. "Could they be worthy?" Elias's chest swelled. The fear that had haunted him for weeks vanished, replaced by determination. "We fight together," he shouted, stepping forward, rallying his small human neighbors who had come to watch in terror, armed only with tools and courage, with Zira and Lyra, and a few brave humans at his side. The tide of fear reversed. The attacking clans realized they were facing more than a human. They were facing a symbol, a bond, a challenge to the old order. By nightfall, the battlefield was quiet again. The invaders gone, retreating to report what they had witnessed. The villagers emerged, amazed and inspired, whispering about the courage of one human and the matron's unexpected loyalty. Elias looked at Zira, exhausted, sweat and dirt streaking both of their faces. She smiled faintly. "You see now? One human can change the world." Lyra ran to them, hugging them both. "You saved me, and everyone saw it," she whispered. Eyes shining with tears, Elias nodded, gazing at the stars, understanding that the true battle had not been for survival. It had been for hearts and minds. And now, even the oldest clans would have to reconsider what they thought they knew. Far above, a messenger ship streaked toward the council, its red signal flashing urgently across the skies. The human stands with the matron. The old laws crumble. And in that moment, Elias realized their fight had just begun, not against armies, but against centuries of fear, hatred, and doubt, a fight that one human, one matron, and one glowing child could inspire across worlds. The twin moons rose high over the horizon, casting pale silver light across the valley. The night was quiet, but the air thrummed with energy, the kind that comes after storms. After battles, after lives are forever changed. Elias stood outside his cabin, exhausted yet alert. Beside him, Lyra bounced with excitement, and Zira's glowing form shimmered faintly, calm but powerful. The villages around them whispered of the human who had stood against the clans, of the matron who had bound herself to him, of the small alien girl whose bravery had turned the tide, and word traveled fast, faster than anyone could imagine. Inside the cabin, Lyra opened the glowing pendant and held it high, watching as the silver light spread through the room. It pulsed in time with her heartbeat, creating patterns on the walls like constellations dancing in a new sky. Elias watched her, awe filling his chest. "I never imagined a child could change the world," he said softly. Lyra looked up at him, eyes shining. "It's not me. It's all of us together," she whispered. "You saved me, Mother came because of you, and now everyone will see humans are not just strangers to fear." Zira stepped forward, placing a hand on Elias's shoulder, her touch warm and grounding. "You saved my daughter, human, and in doing so you saved me, my honor, my people," she said quietly. "The council may debate, the clans may grumble, but the bond we share cannot be broken." Elias exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of her words, realizing that the past months of fear, danger, and confusion had led to this moment, a fragile peace, a fragile family, stronger than any weapon, stronger than any law. Suddenly, the horizon shimmered with movement, figures approaching, not soldiers, not enemies, but clans who had witnessed the uprising. They came slowly, cautiously, keeping distance but curious, eyes wide as they saw Zira standing beside a human, her glow bathing the ground in silver light. One elder stepped forward, raising a hand in respect. "Matron, human, we see the bond." "It is true," he said, his voice trembling. "Perhaps the laws we clung to for centuries were not justice but fear." Others murmured in agreement, lowering weapons, kneeling, some even bowing, signaling acceptance, and Elias felt something shift. The fear that had haunted the borderlands for decades started to dissolve, replaced by hope. Lyra laughed, a sound bright and clear, running between Elias and her mother. "See? I told you. We're stronger together." Zira smiled, her silver eyes softening. "Yes, child, we are stronger," she said, then turned to Elias. "You have given us something more than survival. You have given us trust, courage, and proof that kindness can overcome centuries of hate." Elias shook his head, humble yet proud. "I didn't do it for honor. I just did what felt right." Zira took his hand, the glow of the pendant flaring around them. "Sometimes, what is right is also the greatest honor," she said, her voice soft, carrying meaning far beyond the cabin walls. Together, the three of them walked to the edge of the village, looking up at the night sky, where distant stars twinkled like watchful eyes, and far above small ships from the council hovered, scanning, waiting, but now cautious, knowing that the human and the matron had changed the rules. Lyra tugged Elias's hand, pointing at the pendant. "It's pulsing." "It's happy," she whispered. Eyes wide with wonder, Elias smiled, feeling the warmth of the child, the strength of the matron, the unspoken bond between them, and he realized that life could be chaotic, dangerous and unfair, but it could also be beautiful, connected and extraordinary. Moira knelt beside Lyra, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "When you grow, child, you will tell your people. Humans are not just strangers. They can be family." Lyra hugged her mother tightly, then turned to Elias. "Your family too," she whispered. And for the first time, Elias felt truly at home. As they stood together under the twin moons, the pendant glowing between them, the valley silent but alive with possibility, Elias knew one thing. This was not just survival, not just victory, it was a beginning, a bond beyond worlds, a promise that no matter how vast the galaxy, kindness and courage could connect the most unlikely hearts. And somewhere in the distance, across stars and planets, whispers of the human who adopted a Zathari child, and the matron who followed began to spread, reshaping minds and hearts, proving to all, even worlds divided by fear can unite with one act of love, and one human's courage can change everything. The night held them in its quiet embrace, the stars twinkling like witnesses to a new era, And for Elias, Lyra, and Zira, the bond beyond worlds had just begun.